Okay, everybody, in this last module, we call this one Losing Control. Welcome to Fight Flight School. You see, what we've done so far is we set up that there's more people that are under the influence. I wanted you to understand the system. People are under the influence, all of the negative, toxic, corrosive things of stress, anxiety, fear, depression. Their cup gets overfilled with negative. That gets expressed. How does it get expressed? Because people are bullying, people are tormenting, people are being physical, they're aggressive, they're violent even. And where does that happen? It happens in our homes, it happens in our schools, it happens when we're out at play, it happens just on social media, it happens everywhere. And somebody's on that X. Okay, now, being on that X, we're set up to fail was the next thing, right? We're set up to fail because we're taught from a very young age that words should never hurt us, but in fact, they do hurt us. They hurt us deeply. Then I wanted to share with you that the number one universal human fear is when another member of our species, another person from our tribe, the human tribe, that is the greatest single fear, is to have them reject us, not like us, torment us, abuse us, which is basically the equivalent of pushing us out of the tribe. So I wanted you to understand the magnitude, see it for what it is, because if you don't understand those things, those are all little tripwires that when they go off, when we trip on them, we hit the ground harder. We hit that X harder, we suffer more damage because the clear message out of all of that is that there's something wrong with us. That's how we feel. But now this last one, losing control. You see, everything I've shared with you so far, it is not just a mental and emotional reaction that occurs in us. There is something that synergizes all of that. There's something that makes that all even worse, and that is the fact that our bodies, our biochemistry, our physiology, our bodies actually go through a physical change when we are facing or confronted with bullying, aggression, and violence. So I want you to understand something so clearly. Inside of each and every one of you, there is this powerful thing that you were born with. And it is called a survival system. Now, what does that mean? Inside of all of us, we have inherited from our ancestors these great survival instincts, these amazing instincts that actually will cause a change in our body that will allow us to survive in danger situations, like when we face the number one universal fear for all of us. And when somebody bullies, is aggressive or violent towards us, our bodies will literally change. And it does all these amazing things to help you survive. Now, most of you have probably heard of something called your fight or flight system. Now, let's just break it down. If you haven't, most of you I'm sure have, but what it is, basically you've heard probably this way. When you face danger, your body will prepare you to fight, or your body will prepare you to flee. Both of which will help you survive. This is 100% true, but it often doesn't work that way. That's an oversimplification of how this works. So let me go. See, losing control, fight, flight, school. I want to teach you probably something that nobody's taught you before. And that is actually how your body's fight, flight, or the survival system, how it actually works. Because here's the problem. When we face bullying or aggression or violence, okay, we know that it's the number one fear now. We know that we were kind of lied to. People told us that words should never hurt us, but they do hurt us. And the other thing that we were never taught or told is that your body is going to experience some very powerful things. Now, let's break it down this way. When you have experienced bullying, when you have experienced tormenting, when people have said mean things to you, whether it's through social media or anything, I'm willing to bet that your body changed. Anyone ever felt, this is the way that we usually talk about this or describe this, anyone ever felt where your heart jumps up into your throat? Anyone ever felt where all of a sudden your stomach starts doing flip-flops? Anyone ever felt or experienced when your legs go rubbery and you get like those spaghetti legs? Anyone ever experienced when all of a sudden your mouth gets really dry and you got no saliva? Anyone ever experienced where your hands or your face or your body or your lips start to tremble a little bit? Anyone ever experienced where all of a sudden you felt like you were shrinking and getting really small and the room started to close in and all of a sudden you couldn't hear anything and you were like looking through like a little soda straw at somebody? If you've said yes to any of those, and I know we've all experienced those at different times, in different ways slightly, but if you said yes to any of those things, that was your body's survival system activating and you not understanding what was actually going on and why your body would do that. Now let's just make this really clear. Let's take one thing. Imagine what happens when somebody is bullying me, when somebody's being aggressive towards me, or making fun of me or ridiculing me, especially in front of my friends, in front of peers, or in front of my family, and all of a sudden I start to feel my legs get really weak and wobbly. All of a sudden I start to feel my hands tremble a little bit. Now, what do I say to myself? What am I thinking when I'm feeling that in my body? I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so scared I can't feel my legs. I'm so scared I can't feel my legs. Now that's a story that I start to tell myself. Now if that was true, that I was so scared that I can't feel my legs, then what would I have to believe if that was true? Well, I'd believe that I'm a scaredy cat. That I'm so scared because they're better than me. That they're right. That I'm intimidated by them. That I can't handle this situation. That I'm not worth it. Whatever it is, every one of us is going to tell ourselves a different story based off what we are feeling and how we interpret that story. I can't feel my legs. Why didn't you just walk away? I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't get my legs to move. I was frozen there. You see, all of these things, from not being able to feel your legs, to your hands or your lip shaking or quivering, to having no saliva in your mouth, to not being able to hear things properly, to looking through a very tiny little soda straw so you have no awareness or no understanding or no vision of what's going on around you, to not being able to speak properly, to not being able to think, geez, why didn't I do this or why didn't I do that? Any of you ever experienced where something happens like that and then after and during that moment you said nothing, you did nothing, you didn't know what to do or what to say, and then after it's done, all of a sudden you had a list of 100 things you should have said or could have said, or 100 things you could have done or should have done or would have done? Okay, see, all of those things that you're experiencing are all actually your survival system. It is your fight-flight survival system, but you didn't understand what your body was doing, and therefore you created a negative story about that. You're using that as proof to back up all of the other false beliefs that we've already told ourselves. See, let me paint a very clear picture. When it happened to me, and I said that the words hurt me, I said that I was terrified to go to school the next day. I said that I couldn't sleep and I couldn't eat. In the moments when I was at school, and these individuals were picking on me and saying things to me and ridiculing me, I couldn't feel my legs. I remember one time sitting in my desk and not being able to stand up. I remember thinking I should leave. I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted it to be over, but I couldn't get up. I remember thinking I can't feel my legs. I remember holding my pen and my hand was shaking. I remember hiding my hands because I didn't want them to see how scared I was because my hands were shaking that much. I remember, hearing people laughing to not hearing anything and just sitting there almost like in this eerie silence where I could see their lips moving, but I couldn't even hear what they were saying anymore. And I remember thinking to myself that I was so scared that I couldn't move, that I was so scared that I couldn't even hear anymore. I remember thinking that I was losing control of my mind and my body. And then it ended, they walked away and they left. And after I recovered, I remember being very angry with myself because I didn't say anything, because I didn't do anything. And then, of course, that made it even worse because then when I went home, I really thought that I was broken. I really thought something was wrong with me. They scared me so bad that I lost complete control of my body and my mind. I couldn't even speak. Do you see how that story is a big tripwire that made all of it worse? But what I came to learn later in life, as I studied aggression and violence, as I made this my entire world to figure out how to get out of and end my own personal pain and suffering from this, and as it became my mission to end the pain and suffering and to change the effects of bullying and aggression and violence for people just like you that are going through the things that the same exact things that I went through, you see, when I finally understood what my body was actually doing, it set me free. And I want to share this with you. You see, your body, I want you to think of this like all of the great things our bodies can do, moving blood from the top of our head down to the tips of our toes and the tips of our fingers, how it can regulate our heart rate and our blood pressure and all of the cool things that go on inside you. Right now, you all have hand-eye coordination. Some of you could probably juggle. You can play hockey. You can skate forward and backwards. You can do all these amazing things. That requires inside of you a tremendous amount of coordination, right? We call them resources, all of the things your body can do, and you can do it without really even thinking. But within you, there is a very deep, hardwired, born inside of you. Everybody's got it. There's no exceptions. Don't question whether you have this or not. You have it or you wouldn't be here. You have a survival system. And so think of it like an alarm. Anytime that we even perceive, we even just get a feeling. You ever had that feeling that somebody was trouble or that something was there that might hurt you? Whenever you have even a feeling inside of your body, it's like a little alarm goes off. Whoop, whoop, danger, danger. Whether the danger is real or not, that little alarm goes off. And guess what happens? All of those little resources, I want you to think of them like millions of little soldiers inside of your body, and they all have a job to do. And they do that job without you even having to think about it. But when that little alarm goes off, when the red alert goes up, all of those little soldiers, they begin to redirect and redistribute and reorganize. They begin to move all of your resources. They begin to change your body. They don't do this to hurt you. They do this to help you. I want you to think about it. I'm wearing a Justice League shirt. Let's use superheroes as an example. Think about Iron Man, for example. Now, Iron Man's just a regular guy. But when there's danger, he has all these cool little things. Sometimes it's in a suitcase. Sometimes it's in his little wristband on his arm. But the second there's danger, what happens? His suit appears. And his suit starts to wrap around him. And it turns him literally into the Iron Man. It offers him protection. It offers him power. It offers him strength. It turns him from an ordinary person into a superhero. Your survival system inside of your body, when you perceive a threat, those little soldiers, they act just like that. They will literally pull and redistribute your blood. They will change your hearing. They will change the shape of your eye. They will do all of these amazing, powerful things. And they do it because it increases your power. It prepares you to defend yourself. It actually makes your body more resistant to any type of physical damage that might happen to it. Now here's the thing. For example, we just talked about the one, because in another program within this course, I will talk about false fear and I will teach you in depth all about your body's survival system, which you need to know. But right now I just want to give you one example. When you feel those rubbery legs, it's because your body actually is taking that blood and pulling it away from all of the extremities, all of your limbs. It pulls the blood out of your arms, it pulls the blood out of your feet and your legs, and it takes that blood and it puts it into all of your organs, and it puts it into your really big muscles to help you prepare to either defend something against something or to run faster and get away from there and save yourself that way. The fight or the flee. But see, when the blood pulls away from our feet, when we don't know what that's doing, all of a sudden we can't feel our feet and our legs. All of a sudden I can't feel my hands anymore the same way. And I think, oh man, I'm so scared I can't even feel my hands. I can't feel my legs. And the story we tell ourselves is it's because we're so scared. But in truth, what is it? Now we know. See, I knew that the next time it happened, after I was taught that and I couldn't feel my hands or my feet, I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. My body is preparing itself. It's like my Iron Man suit just went on. Now, if I got bit or I got something happened to me, I got an injury on my arm, I wouldn't be bleeding out of that injury because my body was smart enough to take all of that blood and put it into my bigger muscles and to move it away from all of these extremities that might get injured. Do you see how that enhances you? I'm sure you've heard stories of in really, crisis type situations, people have become stronger. People have, mothers have lifted cars off their children to save them, all these different things. That is your body's survival system literally turning you from just a regular person into virtually a superhero. But imagine how scary that is if your body went through all of these changes and you didn't know what they were. You didn't know what was happening to your body, just like me. When I was younger, I had no idea what was going on. When I lost my hearing, when you're in a situation and I couldn't even hear what people are saying anymore, I thought I was so scared that I couldn't hear anymore. I thought my hearing broke. When really, my body took all the energy that I was required to allow me to hear, and it put that energy, those little soldiers left my ears and went into my bigger muscle groups to prepare me to defend myself. That is pretty cool when you figure that out. But boy, if you think that you're broken, if you think that you can't hear and you can't feel your legs because you're that scared, that's a different story. And if that's the story you have, and you combine that with the story that words should never hurt you, and yet you're going, but they do hurt me. The words hurt me. I'm emotionally in pain. I'm mentally in pain. I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't hear. I don't even know that person. That person doesn't even know me. Why do I care what that person thinks? Do you see how all of these things start to stack together? They start to make it even worse for you. You start believing, and like what happened to me, you start looking in the mirror and you start seeing the things that other people are saying about you, the negative things. You start seeing them in yourself. That becomes your story. You start believing that stuff. That is what puts you on the X. That is what keeps you on the X. That is what makes all of the mental, emotional, and even the physical trauma far worse. It's what keeps us stuck there. The first step that we have to changing the effects of aggression and violence, to getting off the X, is to cut all of these little tripwires. Words are toxic and they hurt us. Know that. If you feel that, you are normal. More people are under the influence, and if they are expressing and targeting you, it has nothing to do with you. You are normal. You are fine. It has to do with them. Something negative is impressing on them and causing them to react this way, and unfortunately, you are the intended target. You are the one that they believe is on the X, that they are trying to put on the X. But the second you know that it's okay, words hurt, it's okay to feel this way, I'm normal, you cut the tripwire, you start moving off the X a little bit. The second you understand that, why does it bother me when a complete stranger, somebody that doesn't know me, I don't care what they think of me, yet it still bothers me. The second you understand that it is because that the number one universal fear for us human beings is to have another human being treat us horribly, to reject us, to push us outside of the tribe. That is the number one universal fear. When you know that, you cut that tripwire and you move a little bit off the X. And finally, to understand that when people are aggressive to you or bullying you or tormenting or targeting you with words or physically, that your body is going to go through a change. But that is your survival system. When you learn to reinterpret that and learn the truth behind it, that it is like activating a superhero suit, But see, when you understand that, that cuts that tripwire, that helps you step off the X. Do you see how all of these things together help change the effects? They change the story from us being broken, from us being abnormal, from the problem being us, and it begins to set us free and it gets us off of that X. That is the first step. That is why I wanted you to hear this and know this information. That's why, because nobody taught me at that age. Nobody taught me when I was young. Nobody taught me when I was even a young adult. Nobody taught me. I had to go out and find this information. Years, 25 years of studying this and learning this. And I want to share this with you because most people do not know this. But now you have heard this. Now you know this. You have experienced this. Now you are no longer anchored to that X.